This is a very short video about some of the challenges in George Washington's presidency. So George Washington had a few challenges that he had to deal with when he was president. One of it was, I'm not really going in order here, but one was debt from the Revolutionary War. The Revolutionary War was expensive, and the country was in debt. Colonies were in debt after the Revolutionary War. So that's something that Washington had to deal with. And one of the ways that he dealt with that, he basically put a guy you may have heard of named Alexander Hamilton in charge of the economy. Alexander Hamilton was George Washington's Secretary of the Treasury, and Hamilton came up with an economic plan to help get the country out of debt. And that's something you will be learning about in a future lesson. Another problem he had that you'll be looking at in a future lesson as well, but will be introduced here, is he had to deal with fighting within his cabinet. So we just talked about Hamilton, Secretary of Treasury. Thomas Jefferson was Washington's Secretary of State. And Jefferson and Hamilton did not get along. They did not agree on anything. And in fact, it got pretty tense and pretty heated between the two. So that's something he had to deal with. Another thing that Washington had to deal with and make a decision on was the French Revolution. So some wanted Washington to side with France, some wanted him to side with Britain. And Washington takes a stance of neutrality. He decides to remain neutral in this and not get involved. The Whiskey Rebellion. So the Whiskey Rebellion, there was a tax on whiskey. In order to try and pay back some of the debt, they placed a tax on whiskey. And some people, mostly farmers in some of the western areas, did not like this at all. And in fact, they rebel and cause a bunch of problems. And what Washington ends up doing is he ends up sending a militia to put down and stop the rebellion. This is different if you remember back to learning about the Articles of Confederation. Under the Articles of the Confederation, Articles of Confederation, the government did not have power to stop it, to stop a rebellion. Shays' Rebellion is an example of how the government couldn't stop a rebellion. They didn't have the power to do it. They didn't have a militia. They couldn't force people to be part of the army. But now, under the new Constitution, Washington is showing that they do have power to stop. And these are some of the challenges that Washington faced in his administration as president.